It started as a routine political debate, but what unfolded left millions speechless. Viewers tuned in expecting a heated discussion, but no one anticipated Pam Bondi delivering a verbal blow so scathing that it left Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett visibly rattled. Stay with us as we unravel the jaw-dropping live exchange that had America talking. And if you want the unfiltered truth behind this dramatic showdown, make sure to watch till the end. Hit that like button and subscribe for more exclusive insights. The stage was set on a high-profile political talk show, with a packed audience and millions watching from their screens. Pam Bondi, the sharp-tongued former Attorney General of Florida, squared off against Jasmine Crockett, the charismatic yet controversial Congresswoman known for her fiery rhetoric. The topic? A polarizing new piece of legislation that had the nation divided. Pam, clad in a tailored blazer, exuded confidence as she leaned forward, ready to dissect every point Jasmine planned to make. On the other hand, Jasmine, vibrant and passionate, wasted no time diving into her critique of Bondi's political legacy. The tension was palpable. The debate started off on what seemed like a respectful footing. Both Jasmine Crockett and Pam Bondi presented their opening remarks with the poised confidence of seasoned politicians. The moderator had skillfully guided the conversation through the basics of the healthcare policy proposal, and the audience seemed engaged but calm. Pam Bondi, known for her razor-sharp intellect and biting sarcasm, carefully laid out her concerns about the policy's feasibility. Jasmine Crockett, the rising progressive star with a reputation for fearless advocacy, answered with heartfelt passion and detailed data points. For a brief moment, the two appeared to respect each other's viewpoints, nodding politely during the exchange. But that fragile civility was shattered in an instant. Pam Bondi's voice dipped into a colder, sharper tone as she leaned forward, locking eyes with Jasmine. "Congresswoman Crockett," she began, her voice dripping with condescension, "your so-called advocacy is nothing more than a series of performative antics designed to win applause, not to solve real problems." The words hit like a blow. The live audience gasped quietly, sensing the shift from debate to personal attack. Cameras zoomed in on Jasmine's face, catching the sudden flicker of fire in her eyes. Jasmine's response was swift and unyielding. Her voice, though controlled, held a clear edge. "Pam," she said, voice steady but fierce, "coming from someone who's spent years protecting corrupt officials and enabling injustice, that's rich coming from you. Maybe you should focus on fixing your own reputation before criticizing mine." The moderator's attempt to steer the conversation back on track was drowned out by the rising tension. The room felt electric, as if an invisible storm had broken loose between the two women. Pam didn't back down. Instead, she smiled, a cold, calculated smile, and leaned in closer, lowering her voice so only Jasmine and the nearby microphones could hear. "Oh, Jasmine, you think your righteous indignation will shield you? I've seen plenty like you come and go. Your words may sound strong, but they crumble under scrutiny." Jasmine's posture straightened. She wasn't about to let Pam's jab go unanswered. "Scrutiny? Then let's talk scrutiny," Jasmine said, her voice now loud enough to carry across the studio. "How about the fact that you've consistently sided with special interests over constituents, or that you turned a blind eye to policies that disproportionately harm the very communities you claim to protect?" Pam's eyes flashed with annoyance, but she masked it with a sarcastic laugh. "Don't flatter yourself. My record speaks for itself. What does yours say? A string of half-baked bills and grandstanding speeches? Half-baked?" Jasmine's voice grew louder, cutting through the hum of the live broadcast. "At least I'm fighting for change instead of protecting the status quo." The crowd was no longer silent. Murmurs of approval and surprise rippled through the viewers, watching live, and those in the studio. The atmosphere thickened, the conflict no longer about policy, but personal honor, credibility, and power. Pam Bondi, with a sharp retort, fired back. "This isn't a popularity contest. It's about results, something you might want to remember before spouting off." Jasmine's glare burned with determination. "And don't forget, Pam, that history remembers those who fight for justice, not those who enable corruption." The exchange was raw, electric, a clash of two formidable women unwilling to cede ground, each armed with their own history, motives, and followers. What started as a policy debate had transformed into a battleground of personal and political warfare, and the audience knew the fireworks were just beginning. Gasps echoed from the live audience. The gloves were officially off. The battle between Jasmine Crockett and Pam Bondi had been fierce and unrelenting, with both women refusing to back down. For several intense minutes, Jasmine seemed to have the momentum. Her passionate defense and incisive rebuttals were resonating with the audience and viewers alike. There was a tangible sense that she was turning the tide, building a narrative of integrity and courage against Pam's attacks. But just when it appeared Jasmine was about to deliver a decisive blow, Pam Bondi unleashed a surprise that sent shockwaves through the room. Without missing a beat, Pam reached under the desk and pulled out a thick dossier, its cover emblazoned with the word "inconsistencies." The camera zoomed in as she flipped it open and began highlighting specific pages, her expression calm but steely. "This," Pam declared, holding the dossier firmly, "is a record of Congresswoman Crockett's voting history, a record that, when examined closely, reveals serious contradictions between her words and her votes." The room went still. Even the moderator's usual composed demeanor faltered for a split second. Pam's voice, smooth and measured, sliced through the tension. "Congresswoman, can you explain to the American people how you consistently claim to champion small businesses and yet voted against multiple relief packages designed to save thousands of those very businesses during times of crisis?" Pam's words were devastating because they came with evidence, voting records, quotes from past speeches, and timelines that made it impossible to dismiss as mere political spin. She methodically pinpointed dates, specific bills, and votes, each more damaging than the last. The dossier detailed moments where Jasmine had publicly supported business-friendly policies, yet, in Congress, her voting record showed the opposite. Jasmine's confident facade cracked. Her cheeks flushed a deep shade of red, betraying the surprise she was trying to mask. For a heartbeat, she was silent, fumbling for a response. The live audience, as well as viewers watching from home, leaned in, the atmosphere electric with anticipation. Low murmurs began to ripple through the crowd, some incredulous, others disappointed. Jasmine's eyes darted briefly to her notes, then back at Pam, searching for a way to recover from this unexpected onslaught. Finally, she spoke, her voice quieter, but still resolute. "Pam, context matters. Many of those votes were complicated decisions made with information that wasn't fully available at the time. I stand by my commitment to small businesses, and I have fought tirelessly to support them through other initiatives." Pam, however, was relentless. "Context matters, yes, but when the people you claim to represent are struggling to keep their doors open, voting no on direct relief is more than complicated. It's contradictory. The public deserves honesty, Congresswoman." The moderator quickly tried to regain control, sensing the debate had hit a critical turning point, but the damage was done. The narrative had shifted. For the first time, Jasmine's record was under serious scrutiny on live television. The dossier had struck a nerve, and the room felt charged with uncertainty. Was this the moment that would derail Jasmine's rising political star, or could she turn the tide once again? The audience was left hanging on the edge of their seats, knowing the drama was far from over. The room was charged with electricity as the debate reached its most intense phase. Jasmine Crockett, previously caught off guard by the dossier of contradictions, now understood the critical need to seize control of the narrative. She inhaled deeply, steadying herself as the camera zoomed in to capture every nuanced expression. The weight of the moment was palpable, not just for her, but for everyone watching. Leaning forward with a determined gaze, Jasmine addressed Pam Bondi directly, her voice calm but firm. "Pam, you're cherry-picking data to fit your narrative. You take votes out of context and ignore the complex realities that inform those decisions. I won't let you distort the truth to score political points." The studio lights reflected off Jasmine's eyes as she continued. Each of those votes was made after careful consideration of legislation that was constantly evolving, with amendments and compromises. I've always put the interests of my constituents first, and my record shows a commitment to pragmatic solutions rather than empty rhetoric. The crowd shifted uneasily. Some nodded in agreement, while others remained skeptical, still digesting the information Pam had presented moments earlier. But just as the tension seemed to tilt back toward Jasmine, Pam Bondi smiled with the confidence of a seasoned opponent who had anticipated this response. "Congresswoman," Pam said smoothly, flipping open her folder once more, "let's not forget that words matter, and actions matter even more." She gestured to a nearby screen where video clips began to play, carefully selected moments capturing Jasmine, making statements that appeared to contradict her voting record. The first clip showed Jasmine passionately advocating for small businesses during a televised town hall, her tone urgent and empathetic. Then, the video cut to a congressional session where Jasmine was recorded voting against a major relief bill intended to support those same businesses. Pam's voice rose slightly, filled with a mix of triumph and accusation. "The evidence speaks for itself. You've built a career on saying one thing to win public favor and doing another when it counts in the halls of power. That's the reality your constituents deserve to know." The audience erupted into applause and murmurs of agreement. The energy in the studio shifted palpably. The applause was not just a reaction to Pam's words, it was an expression of raw, undeniable impact. Jasmine's face tightened with visible frustration. Her jaw clenched as she fought to maintain composure. Yet, despite the mounting pressure, she refused to show weakness. Her voice remained steady, but there was an unmistakable edge of defiance. "I acknowledge the complexities of legislative work," she said, "but I have never lost sight of the people I represent. If anything, my record demonstrates the courage to make tough decisions when necessary, even if they're unpopular." Pam shook her head slowly, unwilling to concede an inch. "Tough decisions are one thing," she replied, "but integrity requires consistency, and that's exactly what you failed to demonstrate." The moderator interjected, trying to refocus the debate, but the moment had crystallized. The back and forth had laid bare the fundamental question, not just about policy, but about trust and credibility, qualities every public servant must earn and protect. For Jasmine, this was more than a fight over legislation. It was a battle for her political identity. The audience could feel the stakes rising, the outcome hanging precariously in the balance. Would she break under the weight of the evidence, or could she reclaim her narrative with renewed vigor? The answer would define her standing in the eyes of the public and history itself. Just when the tension in the room seemed nearly unbearable, charged with fierce accusations and sharp rebuttals, something unexpected happened that stunned everyone watching. A sudden murmur rippled through the live audience as a man in his mid-40s stood up. His face was weathered, hands calloused, a small business owner unmistakably marked by years of hard work and struggle. All eyes turned toward him. The cameras shifted focus, capturing the raw emotion in his expression. The man's voice, though steady, carried the weight of disappointment and urgency. Congresswoman Crockett, he began, addressing Jasmine directly, I voted for you because you promised to fight for people like me, small business owners who keep this community alive. The room fell silent. Even Pam Bondi, who had been preparing for her next verbal strike, was momentarily caught off guard. The man continued, his voice steady but laden with pain. My bakery was on the brink of closure during the last crisis. We barely survived because relief never came. I watched friends lose their businesses, families lose their livelihoods. Where were you when we needed help the most? A hush descended over the studio. The weight of his words hung in the air like a heavy fog. For a brief moment, Jasmine Crockett's fiery exterior softened, the armor of politics slipping away to reveal something more human beneath. Her eyes met his, and for the first time, there was vulnerability in her gaze. The confident congresswoman who had sparred so fiercely with Pam Bondi now seemed touched by the raw honesty in the room. I'm sorry you felt abandoned, Jasmine said quietly, her voice trembling ever so slightly. That was never my intention. She took a small breath, steadying herself as the emotions welled up. I have always fought for what I believe is right. Sometimes those decisions are tough, far tougher than they appear on the surface. Jasmine looked around at the audience, then back at the man. But I promise you this, your pain, your struggle, your fight, it matters to me. And I will keep fighting to ensure that no small business is left behind. The moment was raw and real, a powerful contrast to the heated rhetoric and polished sound bites that had dominated the debate until then. The audience responded with a mixture of applause and reflective silence, the kind that comes when something genuine breaks through the noise. Pam Bondi, momentarily silenced, glanced away, perhaps reconsidering her own attacks in light of this human connection. The man nodded slightly, a flicker of hope crossing his face. The emotional moment underscored the deeper stakes of the conflict, a reminder that beyond political strategies and legal arguments, real people's lives hung in the balance. This unexpected development had shifted the tone of the debate. No longer just a contest of facts and figures, it was now a poignant reminder of the human cost behind every vote and every policy decision. For Jasmine, it was a moment of reckoning, a challenge to bridge the gap between political reality and the hopes of those she vowed to represent. The room's atmosphere had reached a boiling point, the air thick with tension and anticipation. The unexpected emotional moment had softened Jasmine Crockett's image, but it also set the stage for a final, decisive clash between two formidable opponents. Pam Bondi, ever the seasoned debater, sensed the perfect opportunity to strike and took full advantage of it. With a steely gaze fixed on Jasmine, she leaned forward, her voice ringing clear and authoritative through the studio. Leadership isn't about excuses, Pam declared, her words cutting through the charged silence like a sharp blade. It's about accountability. The American people deserve better than hollow promises and political spin. They deserve leaders who stand by their commitments, not those who dodge responsibility when it gets tough. The crowd responded immediately. Some murmured in agreement, others sat on the edge of their seats, sensing that this was the defining moment of the entire debate. Jasmine, her face flushed and her eyes shimmering with emotion, took a moment to collect herself. The weight of Pam's words hung heavily, but instead of retreating, Jasmine's voice came back strong, sincere, and deeply personal. I may have made mistakes, Jasmine admitted, her tone vulnerable yet unwavering. But my dedication to my constituents has never wavered. Every decision I've made was with their best interests at heart, even when the path wasn't clear or easy. Her voice grew steadier, filled with conviction and hope. This isn't about politics or winning debates. It's about people, families trying to get by, small businesses struggling to survive, communities that need real help. So instead of tearing each other down, Let's focus on solutions. Let's work together to make the changes our people deserve." The audience was silent for a moment, captivated by the heartfelt plea. Some nodded, moved by Jasmine's honesty and determination. Others exchanged glances, acknowledging the truth in her words. Pam's confident posture faltered just slightly, sensing the emotional tide had shifted once more. Yet, unwilling to concede defeat, she fired back with a final, sharp rebuttal. "Solutions require trust," Pam said firmly. "And trust is earned through consistent actions, not just words. Congresswoman, the question remains, how can your constituents trust that you'll follow through?" Jasmine met Pam's challenge head-on, her eyes blazing with renewed strength. "By holding me accountable, by demanding better, and by giving me the chance to prove that I am fighting for them every single day. I'm here, I'm listening, and I will never stop working for their future." The tension in the room was palpable, the debate hanging on the razor's edge between confrontation and potential reconciliation. Cameras captured every flicker of emotion, every subtle shift in tone. As the moderator prepared to close the segment, the audience remained riveted, their anticipation reaching a fever pitch. Neither woman had backed down, but the battle had evolved, transcending political rhetoric and exposing the raw human stakes beneath. This climactic exchange wasn't just a fight for political survival. It was a moment that laid bare the challenges and hopes of leadership itself. The verdict? Left to the viewers to decide. As the debate drew to a close, the tension in the room finally began to dissipate, but the sense of unresolved conflict lingered in the air, like a storm that had passed, but left behind its scars. There was no clear victor declared by the moderators or the audience, no triumphant mic drop or concession speech. Instead, both sides had landed blows that would resonate far beyond the studio walls. Pam Bondi's meticulously crafted takedown of Jasmine Crockett's voting record and public statements left an indelible mark on viewers. Her calm yet relentless delivery highlighted contradictions and raised questions that many found difficult to ignore. For a significant portion of the audience, Pam's critique felt like a sobering reality check, an unvarnished look at the complexities and sometimes uncomfortable truths of political life. At the same time, Jasmine's emotional vulnerability offered a stark contrast to the hard-hitting facts. Her raw, heartfelt responses, especially her moment with the small business owner in the audience, struck a powerful chord with many viewers who saw beyond the political maneuvering to the human cost of policy decisions. Jasmine's willingness to acknowledge mistakes, admit uncertainty, and appeal to common humanity won her sympathy and respect from those who value authenticity and dedication in their leaders. Almost immediately after the broadcast ended, social media erupted. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram flooded with passionate reactions, memes, and heated debates. Supporters of both women rallied behind their favored candidate, using clips from the debate to bolster their arguments. Influencers and political analysts weighed in, dissecting every word and gesture, speculating about the long-term consequences of this confrontation. Headlines in major news outlets captured the drama. Pam Bondi's relentless scrutiny leaves Congresswoman Crockett on the defensive. Jasmine Crockett's emotional moment sparks outpouring of public support. Political showdown highlights deep divisions and shared hopes. The fallout wasn't confined to just headlines or online chatter. Constituents reached out directly to Jasmine's office, expressing both frustration and encouragement. Some demanded accountability, questioning her past votes and calling for clearer transparency moving forward. Others offered messages of solidarity, inspired by her openness and determination to keep fighting. For Pam Bondi, the debate reinforced her reputation as a fierce and skilled political opponent, one who doesn't shy away from exposing flaws and holding leaders accountable. Yet even she had to acknowledge that the battle had left a new dimension to the political dialogue, one where emotional connection and personal stories now held significant weight alongside policy critiques. In the weeks that followed, this debate became a defining moment in the political landscape. It fueled campaign strategies, shaped media narratives, and influenced public opinion. Neither Pam nor Jasmine could claim an outright victory, but the encounter had fundamentally shifted the terms of the conversation. Legal analysts and political commentators described it as a watershed moment, a public reckoning that went beyond sound bites to challenge the very nature of political leadership and representation. As the dust settled, one thing was clear: the fight wasn't over. Both women would continue their journeys, Pam pushing for relentless scrutiny and accountability, Jasmine striving to balance idealism with pragmatic governance. The American people, watching closely, had been given a rare glimpse into the complexities of leadership, the fragile balance between power and vulnerability. This debate wasn't just an event, it was a vivid, ongoing story, a reminder that politics is as much about human connection as it is about policies and power. This dramatic showdown was more than just a clash of personalities. It was a microcosm of the deep divisions in American politics. Pam Bondi's calculated approach highlighted the importance of accountability, while Jasmine Crockett's raw emotion reminded everyone of the human side of leadership. As the dust settled, one thing became clear: moments like these shape public opinion and, ultimately, the future of our nation. What's your take on this fiery exchange? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis and breaking stories.